These aren't the stories your mother told you. No, these are the other stories.
Today's episode of The Other Stories is Hungry Second Hands, written by Galen Gower and narrated and produced by James Barnett, aka Jimmy Horace.
The alarm clocks are eating my life, Jake, my father said. His grip on my wrist was firm, almost painful. His wheelchair wasn't locked, so he rolled toward me when I tried to pull back. He glared, daring me to argue. The day room bustled around us with patients and other caretakers coming and going, and I didn't want to embarrass my dad. Sometime Dad knows where he is, but he's good at faking it too. I only came by today to bring him his birthday card, but he's in the middle of an episode before I thought to get it out of my jacket. And Dad, I wasn't sure how to proceed. I'm sure they're not, okay? That's not how alarm clocks work. Judging from the way my dad lashed out and snarled at me, I said the wrong thing. He pulled me off balance and shoved me hard into the wall. I must have hit my head when I fell. I couldn't orient things. I saw myself through my dad's eyes. There I was, sitting on the floor, holding my head. I lost track of who I was for a minute. They wait for me at night, damn it! My father's nose pressed right into my cheek as he leaned over in his chair to get right down in my face. Spittle flew from his mouth and he choked out the words. His mind wandered between times past and now, but his strength hadn't faded. His violence exploded into being and evaporated quickly. He'd pissed himself again, and I didn't know where to look. I was embarrassed for both of us from my place on the floor. Hey, Mr. Quince, let's take it easy now. Vince, part security and part nurse for the memory ward, stepped between my dad and me, swift as a blue jay. He got my dad calmed down and I picked myself up. No need to get excited. Agreed, Mr. Quince? Let's just roll you into the restroom and get you cleaned up before you nap, Vince said. I got some medicine for you too. We'll take care of all of it at once, okay? Little bastard thinks he's smart, but he'll find out he'll get the same, Dad said, but slurring. Vince has a gift though. No matter how worked up the residents got, Vince calmed them down. Dad always took his medicine when Vince gave it to him. When I tried, he threw it at me. You okay, Mr. Jake? Vince asked after returning from Dad's studio bedroom. I thought living here with his own kitchenette and bathroom would help him feel independent. I doubt he ever noticed he didn't have a stove or even a microwave. All the rooms in memory care opened straight out into the same hallway. Dad was already asleep, but his arm jerked every few seconds and he grunted. I glanced over at the alarm clock on the little table next to his bed, old-fashioned, with actual bells on the top. I couldn't stop myself from giggling as I imagined it ringing like in the cartoons. It'd be a bouncing, jangling calamity, and then my dad would hop out of bed with a giant mallet and smash it. Something about the whole thing landed on my brain in the most inappropriate way possible, and I couldn't stop laughing. I stumbled into the doorway to try and get myself under control. Vince's hand was on my shoulder and he frowned at me. Jake, you okay? Do we need to get you checked out? I tried to catch my breath, but I couldn't get the image of my dad going totally apeshit on the alarm clock out of my head. It's just... I couldn't get the whole explanation out. The alarm clock thing. And then he smashes it. Oh, shit. I'm sorry. The tears started after that. I used to listen to my dad play guitar and sing. I couldn't sit still when I was a kid. I bounced off the walls until Mum was ready to drown me in the bathtub. When my dad got out his guitar though, I'd sit there in a trance, while he played every song he knew. Chuck Berry, Canned Heat, Everly Brothers, and anything else from the 60s and 70s. Dad could play all of them. My favourite song was always Time in a Bottle. I thought back to sitting perfectly still listening to my dad's version. I used to think he'd live forever. I'm sorry, Vince. Shit. This is tough and just keeps getting worse, huh? I wiped my eyes. Did you hear what he was saying about the alarm clock? Dad was so sure. like he was really lucid in the moment. But why alarm clocks? Wanted to grab onto this moment for him, to shake some kind of truth out of it. I've tried that before. It never worked. Wanted so badly to comfort him. But every time I went too far down the rabbit hole of his dementia, we both ended up more unhappy. Prisoners on the carousel of his memories, and we couldn't stop the ride, or predict which direction it went. I just tried to be present instead. I can't dwell on it too much, Jake. He says things mixed up. He might be trying to say something else, you know? And cross wires. Hey, I really appreciate you taking care of him, Vince. I glanced back at my dad, still jerking and muttering in his sleep. The alarm clock sat closer to the bed than before. I could hear it ticking from the doorway. Was it that loud before? Or was I just paying attention to it now? Maybe try again tomorrow, okay? Vince said. It wasn't until I went to put my coat in the closet that the card poked out and I realised I'd forgotten all about it. Shit. What is it? Caroline called from the couch. I totally forgot to give my dad his birthday card. I guess we got talking and it just slipped my mind. I didn't want her to know that my dad got violent again, so I downplayed the severity of today's episode. Well, why don't you run it up there real quick? I bet it will really make him happy tomorrow morning to see a birthday card, you know? He's probably asleep. It's kinda late, I said, but I hesitated. He was usually best, the most himself, first in the morning, and he genuinely loved cards. He never threw them away. I made up my mind. Does the memory care wing turn into a pumpkin past 9 or something? Caroline called. Okay. Just gonna run this up there and leave it on his table or something. I'll be right back. I called back as I put my coat back on. I knew you could do it, babe. I believe in you. Caroline yelled as I shut the front door. There was no one at the desk when I walked in. At that hour, none of the residents were awake, so it probably didn't matter. I heard voices when I walked past the employee lounge. The nighttime staff weren't as attentive or friendly as Vince, and I didn't really feel like talking to anyone. I just wanted to get in and out. It took me 3 tries to remember the code to the memory wing entrance. Shit. That couldn't be a good sign. The hall was lit by pale silver LED nightlights that made perfect grids of shadow up and down the hallway at regular intervals. All the rooms were quiet. No televisions or music. I tried to walk silently, keys clutched in my hand in my pocket, to my dad's room. I even held my breath like I did when I was a kid and needed to pee in the middle of the night. I used to suck in a deep breath and scamper through the shadows between my bedroom and the bathroom, like there were horrors waiting to snatch me up for being seen or heard. I got so wrapped up in that little memory that I didn't hear the ticking until I was just outside his door. I stopped and tilted my head, straining to listen. It sounded like the clicks of 1,000 tiny claws. This place was surely too nice to have rats. I eased the door open as quietly as I could and stepped into my dad's room. Alarm clocks, dozens of them, swarmed over my father's bed on spindly legs that clicked and ticked. They bumped and jostled each other. Their bells clinged and chimed softly. They moved up and down his stomach, chest and over his face. They blanketed the room, spilling out of the soft shadows and swarming over the floor to climb up on the bed. My rational brain unmoored itself, and I idly wondered what kind of spray the nursing home would use for an infestation of alarm clocks. My mind reeled and fought against accepting this nighttime scenario. My father's eyes were open, and his mouth worked in fevered whispers as the clocks scampered around him. One shuddered and wound its own spring, quivered on the pillow next to his head. It stabbed him with its second hand, right in his temple. His eyes glowed the same silver, ghostly pale from the night light, then quickly faded. Its bells gently chimed, and a new one took its place as it climbed down off the bed. They were eating his life. I couldn't decide between the competing impulses in my brain, run away screaming or smash them. What the fuck? A sharp pain in my ankle cut me off. An alarm clock had thrust one of its shiny black legs into my foot, and my mind swam away as another one stabbed at me. And then another. Their hungry second hands probing for the scent of memory. Dozens of them swarmed over me and pulled me down into my past while they feasted. "Play the Time Bottle song, Dad. Time Bottle song." That's how I used to get him to play the song when I was 6 years old. "What song, Jake?" "I don't think I know that one." Dad scratched his head. He kept it up until I squealed and dissolved into giggles. "The Time Bottle song, Dad. Come on." "Oh, this one." He started it up. The Time Bottle song was always my favourite. And he sang it just for me. I used to know all the words, but now I've forgotten most of them. I forgot lots of things, like the birthday card in my coat pocket. I got it for my dad, but I can't ever remember giving it to him. I'll go hang my coat up in the closet and find the corner of the card poking out of the pocket. "I knew you could do it, babe. I believe in you," I told it, and held it out in front of me to read the name on it. Couldn't remember who it was for anymore. "You got a birthday card there, Jake." That was Vince. He helped me when I forgot. Helped me calm down when I remembered the clocks. I looked at him, and then I looked back at the birthday card. I remembered bringing the birthday card to my dad a long time ago, and it fell. I fell down and they got me, Vince. The alarm clocks. They're everywhere here. They come and get us at night. They eat my life, Vince. I screamed. I remembered trying to shake them off, but they kept crawling. They rang and ticked and wound themselves up, those sons of bitches. They climbed up and down my arms and legs and they ate my life. They ate my life, Vince. It's okay now, Jake. Let's just take it easy, okay? Let's get you cleaned up and we'll take our medicine too. That sound good, Jake? Vince always sounded reasonable. But I knew the alarm clocks would be back for me. At night.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode of The Other Stories. Hungry Second Hands, written by Galen Gower, narrated and produced by James Barnett, aka Jimmy Horrors himself, with music by Mayu and Dark Fantasy Studio and Tom Robson, and sound effects provided by freesound.org. The episode illustration was provided by Luke Spooner of Carry On House. Quick thanks to our community managers Jasmine Arch, Joshua Boucher and his eyeless ones, Mary Pastrano and Cody Czarzasty, and to Joshua Boucher for helping with our submission reading. And of course to Ben Errington for the ongoing explosion of content he fires at this social media cannon. Galen Gower is not on social media. He said to just tell the listeners I exist at the speed of dark, or live in the infinite silence between thoughts or something. Consider it done, Galen. James Barnett is a producer of the Night's End podcast and After the Gloaming. Search for him wherever you get your podcast. You can catch other works of his at jamesbarnettcreative.com. The Other Stories is a production of the Story Studio Hawk and Cleaver and is brought to you with a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. That means don't change it, don't sell it, but by all means share the hell out of it. So,
Until next time.